Chill. Yeah.
Hello, Marvel Legends, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behavior. And it is our Wandavision recap, but a very different look this time. I am joined in my virtual studio by a very good, close, personal, long-time friend of mine, Mr. Mark Abnett. Mark, say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience. How are you, Marvel Legends? Pleasure to be here, David.
Excellent. And Mark is, as you can see from his background, a fellow collector enthusiast of the extreme, to the point where I'm secretly, not so secretly, incredibly jealous and quite bitter about how nice his collection looks. But also, Mark is a fantastic creative force in the industry as well, without me trying to give him too much of a big head to contain. Mark, tell us about, you can see, being the professional journalist that I am, I've done my research, so I can tell you, Mark is a person who is doing a thing. Mark, tell us more.
Well, aside from being incredibly passionate about Marvel Legends and the X-Men Legends in particular, and customizing and creating my own things, I'm also a comic book writer. And I was fortunate enough a few years back, Mark Miller, the creator of Hit Girl, Kick-Ass, Wanted, Kingsman, and soon to be a hell of a lot of Netflix shows. Netflix have invested a large amount of money in him, so that should be interesting over the next few years. He did a talent contest, and I was lucky enough to win a spot in that. And I wrote Hit Girl, and me and me old mate Kevin Smith were fellow Hit Girl writers. But not a lot came from that. So it was published by Image Comics in the Miller World Annual back in '96. And I spent the next couple of years learning the craft of comic writing a bit better, meeting and going to a lot of courses across the UK. We're very blessed in the UK to have lots of great comic conventions which have trade days. And what that did, it allowed me to meet people and learn the road bumps and hiccups that could be ahead of me. And it's taken till now, and I have just released on Kickstarter my story, This Land, which is a 32-page comic book about a future New Zealand where the people have been possessed with the powers of the gods. So what if you had the powers of the gods, David? And what would you do if those gods wanted the power back? So it's an interesting story where the people have been possessed with abilities beyond their understanding. And a young woman called Helena, this is Helena, look at her, beautiful. She is thrust into the middle of a god civil war, as it's such, and has to make some very difficult decisions whether or not to help these gods in the search for the demigod Maui, who you may be familiar with from the movie Moana.
That is my frame of reference. Yeah.
That is.
And I'm like, can you explain this to me in Disney terms? There you go.
Moana meets the X-Men. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. Yep. And we were very lucky. Kickstarter's a tough thing. The book's already done. All 5 issues are completely drawn. The money from this Kickstarter will go towards colouring for issue 3 and letters for issue 2. So we're in a really good position right now as we speak, David. We're at 99% with 21 days to go, which is...
If you're thinking of donating, don't bother, because he's already got there, so it's absolutely...
It is not a donation. That's the difference, though. So Kickstarters are not about donating. It is you pick a reward or tier level, and you can get fantastic rewards, such as the book itself. There's a digital package as well with over 300, for £5 you can get 350 pages of comics from myself and other creators. There are exclusive prints by Marvel Venom artist Zach Howard. He worked on Space Ranger Venom.
Yes. Wait, is that the Space Knight? Or
yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of that Space Knight run when he came back to Earth, Zach's done some exclusive prints for us.
Which that's stunning. Look at that.
Gorgeous. You can receive, the first 30 people who backed us received a copy of the Miller World Annual, because I had hundreds of them, David. And other prints, this is a print by New Zealand Samoan artist, Michael Milapola, which is absolutely amazing.
That is.
And
awesome.
Also my other book, Schism, which is in the reward tier, which has a lovely soft touch color, which is basically Battle Angel Alita meets Memento, if you want to wrap your head around that one.
I was going to say, those are two great tastes that taste great together.
Absolutely. All the special things like adult colouring books, which are basically panels and pages from all 5 issues, so you can get an exclusive look into what's to come over the next couple of months. So it's gone really well. I'm really happy and proud of the team. It's great fun to be involved in the comic book world, and it's a great community of creators in the UK and around the world, and in Kickstarter. I'm just blown away by the generosity of new friends and old, and it's really wild.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic, and kind of like as you were saying, it's not even generosity when you're offering such like an incredible package. You know, it's not generosity, it's a steal what you're getting. And this is actually really useful because I've never contributed to any kind of Kickstarter or anything before. So like, explain it to me like I'm 5, because that's normally the easiest way to do it. If I wanted to get in on this, where do I go? What do I do? So
you go to Kickstarter.com, you go in the search bar and you type in This Land, and that will bring up the project This Land by Mark Abnett. And there you will be able to peruse the site and see, I've talked a bit about it now, but there's videos, animation, and the first 7 pages from the story are in there, along with a bit more background and understanding about what's going on. And then there's a list of rewards. So the reward tiers start from £2. £2, you can get a digital copy of the book. From there are other levels that go up. For £5, you can get a hard copy of the book. And then postage is on top of that, of course, because this is what we do these days.
Absolutely.
And then that's shipped anywhere in the world. And then the levels go up, and as the levels go up, there's more rewards. You can get original comic art for £125, I believe. Double page spreads for £200. I also teach a comics writing class at the City of Glasgow College, and for £150, I will do a 90-minute one-on-one Zoom session with someone discussing comics writing and creation, and try and help them out on their journey and pathway. But with Kickstarter, no money is taken till the end of the Kickstarter. You can choose to give the money straight away, but it has to be 100% over the target for it to happen. And we're very lucky in the case, whereas everything's done for this Kickstarter. There's no waiting. All I do at the end, when it takes 2 weeks for Kickstarter to decide to send the money to me, while they make lovely, lovely interest, like our good friends at PayPal, and soon to be eBay, I understand. And then they will give me the money. I will press the go button at the printer. The printer prints everything out, and then I mail out hundreds of lovely packages to people all around the world.
That's absolutely fantastic. And one thing that, again, this is just a question that I don't know about Kickstarter. Is there a time limit to get in on this, or is it like ongoing? Is it like act now or miss out? How does it work?
There are 21 days left at time of speaking, which is Sunday, the 7th of February. So this probably, I'm saying Tuesday, David, for you, maybe.
Okay.
But as of Sunday, the 7th, 21 days left, and we're sitting on 99%. So pretty good, pretty confident, David. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. And man, I look forward to actually doing a little review of the project, of the comic book on this show, because everything I've heard about it and seeing from the work that you've produced yourself, I'm like, yeah, you know, this has got my name written all over it. Like, beautiful artwork, awesome writing, and concepts involving gods. And like, as soon as you said Memento, I was like, tell me more. Okay, this is interesting.
Well, that's Schism. This is the Memento one. This is the real brain shooter.
That's one of the tiers. So if you go for a certain tier, you can get hold of that.
That's right, and it's available as a digital reward as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, Mark, like I would say good luck with that. But first of all, you don't need luck, because the project has kind of sold itself. And then, of course, you know, you've got such a fantastic reaction for this already. I'll actually just say enjoy your success, man, because it looks like it's incredibly well deserved.
Well, there will be more to come, and we'll be continuing to put out the following issues over the course of the rest of the year. We won't start the next Kickstarter till everyone has the books in their hand. So I want to make sure this is a thing. Sometimes people back things and they never hear from it again. Everything's done. We'll get these books into you, and then we'll roll on to the next one. but please do not sit and wait for the next one. It's important that we build together and take this journey together.
Absolutely fantastic, man. I look forward to being a part of this. That's really, really terrific. And in a couple of years' time, I look forward to the first wave of This Land action figures with.
Well, I've actually got everything I need to make my own. I've done everything but make my own action figures. So you've seen some of my customs. I've been lucky enough. Funny enough, David, and this is I didn't realise. In Marvellous News, I've been in the top. In the last 15 weeks, 6 of my customs have been Custom of the Week.
Dude, it speaks for itself. You know, that's absolutely fantastic. You know, I'm always impressed, man. Your customs blow me away, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, it was COVID lockdown fever led to that. So I'm really glad to have. Well, look. Behind me is over 200 frickin' X-Men. I mean, it was literally just Cable and X-Force, and it's just, you know what it's been like in the last 18 months or so. It's just
Yeah. It was kind of a blessing and a curse that work was going really well for me all through 2019. I'd accumulated a nice little nest egg, and then I had all of 2020 to sit at home spending it. And now that we're in 2021, it's like, oh, geez, I got to refill these coffers a little bit. But you know, we'll worry about that when we get to it, because there's always something else coming up now. And you know, we've just got the Stiltman wave, and now the House of X, Powers of X wave is on the way, and the train don't stop rolling.
It's crazy. I mean, we were told House of X was going to land about August originally, at the same time as the HasLab, and now it's already leaked on the shelves in Canada. I believe they had to bring certain things forwards, obviously, because of the movie line, the Eternal figures, etc. They would have been out by now. That means the second Gamerverse raid would have probably been about now. So there's been a lot of shuffling around on Hasbro's end. But that's a really exciting one to get those House of X figures together. I'm getting two sets.
two sets? Is there a specific reason for 2 sets? Do you have some crazy mad scientist ideas in mind?
A few, but there's 2 Moria looks, there's 2 Xavier looks, there's 2 Omega Sentinel looks. By the time I've got that far, I might as well get the whole lot of the 2 sets so I can make 2 Theta Sentinels. Everyone keeps calling it a Tri-Sentinel. It's not a Tri-Sentinel. It is a Theta Sentinel.
Exactly. Thank you for mentioning that. Folks, educate yourselves, all right? Educate yourselves, all right? You're embarrassing.
Even Hasbro gets it wrong. I don't care. They're wrong.
But you were saying there are 2 looks. What are the 2 looks for the Theta Sentinel?
Oh, no. By the time I get 2 looks for all these other ones, I might as well, I've got over half a bath there. I might as well keep going. So,
well, I mean, I got to say, the whole sort of, because the worst phrase that we always use as collectors is, I've got this, so I might as well. Which is always like, I've got these 2 figures, I might as well buy the other 4 and then get the bath. And it's always the case, because I think I was going to completely pass on the Hoxpox wave. And then I saw the Moira figure without the jacket, and I was like, well, there's my retro Mary Jane body there. I was like, well, so there was that, and I was like, well, I'm getting a HasLab Sentinel. I've got Nimrod. I might as well get all the Sentinels. And I was like, you know what? I'll just get the whole wave. Why not at that point?
Oh, look, I was the type of guy. The only thing I've got everything X except for the Deadpool variants, and I refuse to even crack Pirate Deadpool out of his box. But I was the guy who was I'm only going to have 1 Wolverine. Well, I've got a bloody row of them back there now, and I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't help it. I've become a bit of a completist. But I do draw the line at some Toy Biz ones. So I do have a Toy Biz Toad and a Toy Biz Longshot, because we don't have those yet.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Madam Deathstrike, Lady Deathstrike, I know it's Lady Deathstrike, I said just called her Madam because I'm being polite. She will be making her way out of the case once the villains line comes. So.
Oh, I'm so excited for that villains line. There's a couple of ones I'm not too excited about, but my goodness, characters like Deathstrike, like the Hood, I cannot wait to get these guys in the collection.
Well, Hood's obviously Pete Bendis with that era. That he was the one after the Ultimates line, the Ultimates Avengers, right? He was the one that really brought the Avengers back into the 616 mainstream with Bendis's Avengers, with the new Avengers, and the Hood being a prominent villain. Secret Invasion, House of M, all that stuff that's just wrapped up into some very good memories and very goodness of Marvel 616 in the 2000s.
Oh, absolutely. I always love the character of the Hood because he's the real definition of an anti-hero, because so many like quote unquote anti-heroes like the Punisher and Venom, it's like, well, they actually kind of are heroes, but you know, the whole point of an anti-hero is that they are kind of a scumbag. And the Hood, like, he started in his own miniseries and he's been the protagonist, but he's never not been a scumbag. And I always really enjoyed that about the character.
It's good when the worst can actually be the worst. Yes.
Yeah, it's very satisfying. There's some nice wish fulfillment there. It's like, well, if I had this mystical Hood with all these incredible powers, I'm not saying I'd probably be the best person in the world, you know. But yeah, so that wave looks great. Actually, do you know there's going to be a Doctor Doom? Do we know what kind of Doctor Doom there is in that wave?
Everyone's kind of leaning towards the Future Foundation Doom. But that was released a way back in the UK as a special release as a white variant. But I'm not sure what they can pull off there. They've done, Doom's obviously been prevalent the last couple of years. We've had the retro one come out end of last year with the cloth. I couldn't bring myself to get that one. I was just, the cloth just didn't quite do it for me. It does look very much like the toy from the 90s. It doesn't look like comic book Doom to me. Future, there's supposed to be another Fantastic Four wave coming sometime this year as well. Potentially that could be the Future Foundation white suits, which we would all love to see. I just can't put my finger on what that Doom's going to really look like.
It's
and they haven't announced a back for that wave yet, I believe. So
no,
that's
not that I'm aware of. And of course, that is just wide open because there are so many possibilities that they could go with. A lot of people are saying maybe an Annihilus, you know, redoing that figure, but that seems like, you know, a step backwards. Like, is there something new that they could bring us? Because also, I think most people were surprised that MODOK was a standalone figure. I think a lot of people thought he was going to be the BAF, but there we go.
Absolutely. And in the new MODOK, I mean, because I'm ex-Focus, I do have one display shelf for other, and I'm just humming and hawing, and maybe I'll just wait to see how many are sitting on the shelf for a 6 months later, and if that price drops enough, I think that might be an easy buy for me. But straight off the bat, it looks magnificent. The Toybers one is still pretty decent.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a solid figure, but the size-wise, this new one's just a chunk. That is a big boy. And if I was all in on AIM and other things like that, I would be the type of person to buy two to get both his faces displayed. That's how bad I am. I got two Nimrods, so I could have House of X Nimrod with his white head and the purple Nimrod hanging out with the New Mutant kids. So
I see people army building Nimrod, and I'm like, I don't know how you're printing your money or if the ink is still wet, but I mean, more power to you. But yeah, that Nimrod is a lovely figure. And actually, I was very pleased that I managed to get him in a almost, dare I say, slightly dynamic kind of pose. Because that was the only thing, was like, he's very like a statue. But you've got just enough foot articulation to be able to have him doing like a little half step. And you can play about with him a little bit.
To be fair, in the book and the cartoon, he is fairly straight up, well, he's a robot, obviously, but he does not have a wide range of motion when he's shown in the book either. But this week, something else happened. We got ourselves a new Maestro.
Right, and people are split about this. Some people are happy and some people are furious. What do you think about this guy?
I mean, it's fairly obvious. They're using the same Hulk mold overall. They're using a version of the Maestro from, I think, Secret Wars on the cover, I believe. And he's very similar to the Old Man Logan series, not the original mini series.
Yeah, but the later one in the 616.
The later one.
Yeah, and I think also Exiles, he had a similar look in there.
You can get carried away. I think it's very hard because Marvel Legends, there's all sorts of fandoms. You've got your MCU people, you've got your video game people, you've got your cartoon people, and you've got your 616 idiots like myself and you as well.
God help us.
But so some people were adamant there must be a morph figure. I couldn't care less if there was a morph figure.
No.
To be honest. I've got my Age of Apocalypse one. Happy. I'll have a changeling figure, but I'm not fussed about having a morph from the animated series. However, it would sell like hotcakes. This version of Maestro is a version of Maestro. It kind of covers as many bases as you can.
He's a good generic looking Maestro. You can kind of put him in with anything. I think the big bone of contention was all I was hearing was the feet and the legs. People wanted Maestro in boots, and it is kind of lazy to have not done that. Or the thing is, I know nothing, like zero, about the production of action figures. And I mean, so some people did say I wouldn't take the claim myself, but they could have just put the Juggernaut
Exactly.
legs would have worked so easily.
Juggernaut.
I don't know the logistics of like, well, is that possible? Do they fit? Would it take remolding? Would it bankrupt the company to do it? You know, because I don't know the margins on these things. And the excuse or the justification I always give is, if they say it's because they can save money doing these things that allow them to make characters like Frogman or the most obscure bonkers characters that, you know, the mainstream would never purchase, but because they're making the money they can do these obscure characters for us collectors.
Well, it's really interesting, David, because, you know, getting financial and talking about the market, it's been a weird year. And Hasbro have announced they're going to put their prices up a couple of pounds or a couple of dollars for our American friends. And in some places, you can take that. If you look at Australia and New Zealand, it's $5 or $6, you know, and that's a big step.
Yeah.
But they've talked a lot. I think Dan's talked a lot to a couple of other podcasters about the reasons why. And it's, well, anyone who produces something, you've got a budget, you've got to stick to it. If stuff doesn't sell through at the end of the day and retailers have to discount that at a heavy price, they're not going to buy the next line. So it's a balance of Hasbro making their money, making things that will sell, and basically you never, unfortunately, even as fans, we're never going to get everything exactly as we want. If we got the perfect line with 5 figures that we all desperately wanted, we wouldn't want the next line. You know, they need to spread that love.
Exactly.
I use Pirate Deadpool for an example as a big but Deadpool sells. There are some very big Deadpool fans. People will buy Deadpool off the shelf, random people. Heavy-duty Legend fans and collectors might get one just to tick a box, or they're really into it. Other people, you know, it's the Wolverines, it's the Caps, the Iron Mans, it's the Deadpools. Those are the things that are sort of evergreen and will always kind of be picked up.
Exactly, but I also completely agree that I think that's the reason why, you know, Hasbro will never do an evergreen type line where so someone said that they and with it makes sense that Hasbro should always make it easy to get, like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Iron Man, Cap, Thor. Like, they should always be on the shelf. But the thing is, if they are, someone will go, I want to collect some Legends. Oh, there they are. Purchase them and be like, I'm done now. They need to have that customer retention, which is, that's how they got me. You know, I would have quite happily just bought Spider-Man and the Sinister Six and had done with it. But because they partition them out slowly, you buy other things in the meantime and then you're hooked. And I'm not mad, because that's how commerce works. You know, if they couldn't make money, they wouldn't do it. You know, I'm fine with that.
Lots of people, I've got a couple of very easy customs here on the shelf that make perfect figures. I've got an M figure for Monette, Saint Croix, C-R-O-I-X. I don't know.
I never knew how to Saint Croix. Yeah.
Saint Croix. But she's wearing she's got a Bobby Morse Mockingbird outfit, and she's a repainted Laura X-Twin Wolverine head. So she's got the scowling look that M always has.
Perfect.
And she's got the perfect outfit. That's just parts that they already have in a few different colours. You know, there's lots of things that they could do, and there are obviously reasons why they don't. And they do look at stuff as well. They've said a number of times, you know, the stuff that's out there that customizers do, they get inspiration from.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the more we get behind it and promote, hey guys, here's an idea, because they do listen. And to be honest, they've been on a. If you look at last year, the range of baths we got, there were some big chunky baths.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And I think that's why I don't like Stiltman, is because we've had last year, we had Sugarman, we had Venompool, and again, speaking of obscure characters, Sugarman and Venompool, you know, but it works, and those are fantastic, and they justify. We had Crimson Dynamo last year as well, which we all kind of forget about because it feels like a lifetime ago. But
Super Skrull was in January, February was the Fantastic Four. Yeah, even Demo Goblin was still a fantastic figure with a flight stand.
Absolutely. Geez, I remember seeing Demo Goblin previewed at London Comic Con. Yeah, and that's just, again, that feels like a lifetime ago. But again, speaking of partitioning out figures, you can see that they're slowly doing the Maximum Carnage type figures. They're slowly doing more Age of Apocalypse figures. But it's a slow trickle, but it keeps us invested, and that's what's so great about it.
It does. I've got some actual comic book news. Or should we talk about Wandavision, or should we wait for the others to appear?
I don't think the others are going to arrive, and we've already done half an hour. So you know what? But this is great. If you're not in a massive hurry, I would love to do some quick comic book news before briefly chatting about WandaVision on this WandaVision show.
Right, so comic book news. Look at this. I'm going to show you this. This turned up today. So Alex Ross did the Marvel series in the 90s, right?
He did.
Painted. This is his X-Force tribute cover. Look at this.
Oh my! I haven't seen any. I've never seen this before. This is stunning.
So
I've not seen that online or anything.
It's a brand new series called Marvel. That's it. So it's written by Alex Ross, and it's basically an anthology. It's a frame and device story with art by Alex Ross about Doctor Strange and Nightmare, and it's set all through time, all through the Marvel universe. And there's some absolutely brilliant stories here from all sorts of creators. Alex Ross writes a couple, he paints a couple, Daniel Acuna, Doug Rice, Kurt Busiek's writing it as well. And it basically, with a framing device of Nightmare and Doctor Strange having this cosmic battle, and it just touches on elements and stories throughout the history of the Marvel Universe, similar to the way Earth X and Universe X did that as well to a point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a fascinating series, but this is X-Force is not in it, but this is beautiful.
Oh no, that's absolutely stunning.
No feet either. So right on.
It's very accurate. Very accurate.
Absolutely. Oh, look, I'm as you know, David, I'm a huge Cable fan, so I love Rob Liefeld, but I understand the limitations of certain artists, and
exactly.
I'm thankful for his work. But two things happened over the last fortnight. One was X-Men are now based in Krakoa. And to be honest, since the House of X and Powers of X series, there actually hasn't been an X-Men team. So at the end of the last big crossover, which was X of Swords, Scott and Jean approached the council and said, right, we're going to form an X-Men team and we're going to let the people decide. And what Marvel did, they made a public vote. So here's a list. So Hickman obviously already knew the crux of the team, but he's left one spot up for the public to pick. And the list consisted of Polaris, Banshee, Forge, Cannonball, Sunspot, Boom Boom, Tempo from the Mutant Liberation Front, Strong Guy, Marrow, remember Marrow? And Armor. And Armor, who is still like a young X-Men, but she's actually been around for 21 years now, almost. No. When was Astonishing, was Whedon, let's say 2003, 4?
Around that time. That's the kind of thing that horribly sort of dates us, where we think like, oh, Armor, no, she's a new character. No, she's 20 years old. She's old enough to drink in any country now. That's bonkers.
Absolutely. Oh, and date young Kid Cable. So go figure that one. So,
actually, help me out very quickly. Kid Cable, what is that? What's going on here?
Okay, Brian Bendis brought the original 5 mutants from the past to the future. Do you remember that? The young young X-Men were running around, the original 5, to send them back. Young Cable came back to the past and rounded them up and sent them back and killed his old self in the process. Put a bullet in old Cable's head and said, "You're doing your job wrong, old man." Poof. And he's here. So what it's given us is actually he's got his family for the first time in his life. He grew up with his adoptive parents, Red and Slim, in the future, which were actually Jean and Scott in their minds, in the bodies of ancestors of theirs.
Yeah.
And then he was left alone as I want to say 10 or 12-year-old. He was left alone to find his way. We're seeing a late teens Cable. I think he should be 21, 22, but they're playing with about 16, 17. We see a late teens Cable who is now getting to hang with his mum and dad, with his big sister, Rachel.
Yeah.
And you see that's been running through the Cable series and a little bit through the X-Men series. So it's been nice to see him be a kid. I was originally very, nope, not having this, cannot stand this. This goes against everything. But at one stage, he was dating all 5 cuckoos. And Emma Frost was not having it. She was not happy about the son of Cyclops dating 5 of her girls. But one of the girls is dating our mate Kid Omega, Quentin Quire.
Okay. I'm into
he's
that.
in prison. He is young, dumb, and with a gun, and he is having a lot of fun. And it's been good. I think it's been pretty good storytelling, to be honest.
It sounds right up my street, just because replacing the classic character with a teenage version of themselves. Oh well, that's just the 90s through and through. That's Teenage Iron Man. That's Superboy. Yeah. That's Kyle Reiner. That's every teenage version of a hero. So I've got to admit, I read House of X and Powers of X, and I really enjoyed it. But then after that, I kind of fell off, because for me the X-Men are always in the mansion in Westchester. It's that they're part of the New York Marvel universe, and I don't like it being like this separate thing. I didn't like the exclusionary kind of stuff, but I'm hearing good things about the comics, so maybe I should try getting back into it.
It's interesting, the dynamics surrounding the island and them being kind of isolationist put a lot of people off. And then that's not what they wanted the X-Men to be about, but that was for protective reasons. Most recently in the book, they have looked after refugees from other countries, not on Krakoa itself, but on other islands and areas. And they're still fighting for the little people. But what this vote has gone to the public. So there's Polaris, Banshee, Forge, Tempo, Marrow, Strong Guy, Cannibal, Sunspot, Boom Boom, and Armor. And winning originally was Polaris, and that was to do with the TV show that Polaris was in.
What was she in? Was she in Legion?
No. It was before Legion, and we'll probably get yelled at in the comments about this, but there was a TV show. Polaris was in it. Thunderbird was in it. Blink was in it.
Really? A TV show?
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea. That one must have passed me by. The only one I can think of is the Generation X made-for-TV movie from the 90s.
Oh, David. No. But this is over the last couple of years. Fox did it. See, I can't even remember the name of it. That's how memorable it is. But she had a lot of fans, and all these fans went online and voted for Polaris, and Polaris went boom. And they're like, no, this is the comic book. She's already the lead in X Factor at the moment. She doesn't need. And actual comic book fans they've been a bit put out by all these TV fans jumping on these.
Little bit of gatekeeping going on there.
But it's actually been really interesting. There's been a big push for Tempo and Marrow, and the last halfway through it was like 60% Polaris, and then at the end the big movers have been Marrow, Tempo, and I believe Banshee. So Marvel have not revealed it yet, and that will be revealed at the Hellfire Ball, which is coming up in a couple of months. So the Hellfire Ball will...
I don't think I've received my invitation.
Absolutely. Well, you will. And so in America, you have the ability to be a Marvel insider.
Right.
Where you get, like they get a free legend a year that we don't have access to.
Which is another topic. But.
Yeah, well, but then again, we have access to almost everything else, which clearly they don't with the Walmart issues and Target.
Yeah, we never have to go toy hunting through Walmart and Target and everything else.
Not really. You see people, I haven't got my Hellfire set yet. I said, what do you mean? It's only 80 quid, but it's just right there. It's sitting there.
Just go online and order it.
Yeah, and but the insiders they'll have the ability to be drawn into that issue of the Hellfire Ball as well. So they're really leaning in on the community and the interaction of X fans, and I think it's boding well for them. X of Swords, I don't know if you ever read that, but that was their big last year. That turned into something completely else, which was actually pretty cool in the end. A lot of people were divided on that crossover as well. But yeah, it's
okay. Well, I do have Marvel Unlimited, so I might have to go back. You recommend I go back and read Cross of Swords? Is that a good starting point to get back into the X books?
X of Swords, yeah. Go through X of Swords and you'll get a feel for what's going on. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, it's good fun.
That's funny. I always read it when I saw it as Cross of Swords because like swords crossing, but of course it's X of Swords. But that makes much more sense. But still,
the one that always bugged me was Executioner's Song. Even though it's clearly Executioner's Song, I need the E. My brain is trying so hard to see the E. So over here I've got...
Stop getting words wrong!
Extinction Agenda, X of Swords. Right, here we go. Kid Cable came back in a series called, it's here, Extermination.
There you go.
It's right there. It's so easy. It's right there. It's like, oh, wow, it took them 50 years to come up with Extermination for a series crossover. Brilliant. I really want to swivel this round, but I think I'll ruin the whole setup. I want you to see all the books there, mate.
We'll have to do a studio tour at some point, but still, just wrapping up that voting about the new X-Men member. I'm glad that they didn't allow any write-in votes, because the last time the British public was allowed to vote on something like that, the British public this isn't even a Brexit one. We were asked to choose a name for the Queen's new royal yacht, and the British public settled on Boaty McBoatface. It's like, don't trust us to do anything.
I think it was a science vessel, but they ended up making the escape vessel called Boaty McBoatface. They did do it. They did do it. And the only other bit of comic book news is, David, are you sitting down?
All right, I'm going to strap myself in for this one.
Heroes Reborn is back.
Tell me what this is. Like, do you know what this is? Because it's not what my mind originally thinks.
It is not Heroes Reborn. It's Heroes Reborn in name, as we know it. But what you have is you have a timeline where the Squadron Supreme, which are basically Marvel's version of the Justice League, the Avengers never existed. Captain America never got frozen in the ice. Thor was never turned into Donald Blake. And Tony Stark never got captured in the war and had turned into Iron Man. So we have a world where the Squadron Supreme rules all, and we're not sure if this is an alternate reality or something that's happening right now. And it looks like that's going to be the next big event crossover for 2021.
This was something I was always really confused about with the Squadron Supreme, because to be honest, if it doesn't happen inside the Spider-Man bubble, I start to get confused. Are the Squadron Supreme from a different reality then?
Originally, yes. Currently, and this is post Hickman's Secret Wars, the Squadron Supreme exists within the Marvel 616, and they are American government run. The Avengers were by themselves, funded by Wakanda, and they're based out of the body of a dead Celestial in the Arctic.
Yeah, I read the first couple of story arcs of that, which I quite enjoyed. I just kind of dropped off, but I thought they were
a lot of people did that, actually. I was the same. I was like, this is good, but, I'm not there. It's weird because there's some big bombastic stories there. It just really hasn't caught on.
The Ed McGuinness artwork, I like the big, bright Ed McGuinness chunky character artwork, but things like, Ghost Rider for me isn't a team character. I don't know what he's doing on the Avengers, and I wasn't feeling the dynamic. And I like the idea of living in a dead Sentinel, Celestial, but that's not Avengers. That doesn't strike me as an Avengers thing.
Well, David, I'm going to spoil something for you. So there was, with this storyline, there was Avengers 1 million or Marvel 1 million. So it's the original Avengers were from basically primordial Earth.
Yes, I had a little bit of that with like the cavemen and god versions and all that kind of stuff.
So you've got Odin instead of Thor. You've got the Phoenix as one of the Avengers. Guess who Thor's mum is?
Oh, go on.
It's Phoenix.
Is that canon?
It was last Wednesday.
Okay. Or hey, look, go with it. I mean, it doesn't change the character. It's just backstory, so all right.
It's comics, nothing matters. Everything's fun. So
yeah. Although I mean, Thor's mum was Freya, wasn't she? I mean, that's what.
Well, at one point he had 3 mothers, so
Hey, it's gods. It is what it is.
It's Jason Aaron who has written Thor for the last 10 years, basically. So he's the man with a plan.
Yeah, I mean, I for one love a long, consistent writing. A floof.
We're going to visit
a little floof.
Here. Come here.
That's adorable. Rich, compelling.
This is what I get. This is what I get for not closing the door. It's my own fault. So there's some crazy stuff going on. Heroes Reborn. Thor's mum apparently is Phoenix. X-Men votes. And yeah, it's. Oh, and one thing I really wanted to say. I wanted to back you up on your 2 broke girls theory for Wandavision.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I believe, 2 broke girls could possibly be in the MCU, and the only reason for it even existing is Wanda just got angry. It's a splinter existing.
There's no other logical canon explanation as to why such an awful show exists.
Exactly.
It's a parody of a 2000s TV show. No real TV show would be like that. No one would watch it.
Totally agree with you. Yep.
Yeah, but that is a perfect segue because and 47 minutes into the show, a new company record. Let's talk about WandaVision episode 5. Because to be honest, I watched it on Friday with my sister and her boyfriend, who are not huge Marvel fans. So I've only just stopped talking about it from trying to explain why on earth I was getting so excited. Because they watch, a couple of films here, 1 or 2 films there, but they don't know that X-Men was made by Fox or it wasn't until I was explaining this that she was like, oh, because the X-Men, they weren't in the Avengers movies, were they? And of course, for us, it's like, well, of course not. But for a normal person who's not obsessed with this.
These normal people, as we call them. Yeah, I had the exact same thing with my partner. And she just turned around to me and said, so you nerds are losing your mind then, aren't you? Yes. Yes, we are. Yes, we are, my love. We are absolutely losing it. What was really cool, and a couple of days ago, because of this whole the comic book thing, I've been pushing it. I've been going on all these shows. Last Thursday on a Scottish beer and comic show, which was great fun, called Brewgooders, I picked it. I said, you know what would be fun? We're going into spoiler territory here, folks. I think it's safe.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a given for this show, yeah.
Yeah. So I said, you know what they could do? Everyone's expecting Pietro to turn up. But you know what would be interesting? If the other Pietro turned up from the X-Men. That would actually be quite challenging. I don't think they'll do it, but that would be really good. And then next morning, the show was on, and one of the hosts of the show was like, "You bastard! I saw it coming. I knew there was going to be a twist, and you just took the wind out of it for me. But I love it." I was like, I had no idea. Apparently there had been leaks and stuff out there. I don't know if subliminally, I didn't see anything. I don't know, maybe I've read something somewhere that got that in my head. But I just think it's fantastic, and it so opens the world up for Spider-Man 3, which we know is going to be the Spider-Verse. We know, and this is a hard thing, is in this day and age, this whole media frenzy for knowledge about the MCU, these videos revealing all the Easter eggs and everything, and people are lapping it up. Marvel have created a whole sub-industry about Marvel spoilers. And, you know, it's great, and then it's not, because you really want that moment for yourself to when you go into
Absolutely.
a film.
You have, but back in the old days, you had to, like, you know, work hard to dig in and try and find all these spoilers. Now you have to work constantly to avoid these things, and it's so difficult. But you know, if you can get those genuine oh my god moments, then that's what's so great. And they can still, like, when they really want to. That's why Endgame was so great, because no one knew Cap was going to lift Thor's hammer. You know, no one knew we were going to get these like moments. So when they do occur, they are just absolutely priceless. And you know, that's what we got, or at least that's what I got, because I avoided the spoilers as well. On, you know, when she went to answer the door, I was like, nah, they wouldn't. And then here we are.
Well, what's really interesting, delving into it a little bit deeper, is there is a section of fandom who's still, Mephisto keeps coming up. And I don't believe for a second it's a Mephisto-controlled Wanda. There's not enough groundwork laid for that character. That character is too big of a player to be part of this. But I certainly do think she's being manipulated. What we see is there's a moment where Sparky dies, the dog, and she turns around, and the kids say to her, "You can bring her back, Mum. You can do anything." And Agatha was like, "What? You can do that?" Agatha is one of the few people that's still kind of aware about.
She's a mystery.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that threw me as well was when the director of Sword turned around and said, "I've been told I can release this footage." You're the director of Sword. Who the hell are you answering to? What? You can release this footage? So, another fan theory. This is probably not going to pan out.
Well, you've got a pretty good batting record so far.
Well, yeah, so far. Yeah, so far. So, I think the whole thing, and then Darcy and Jimmy Woo calling him a dick and stuff as well. It's like, this guy's not playing on the same field. I believe that Wanda potentially had a conversation with the director previously and was told, "Listen, you've done this, you've done this, you've done this. You've been a pretty terrible person. We're just out the back ripping Vision to bits. You know what happened. Potentially, Wanda could have been responsible. And during the blip, we saw in episode 4, we saw the return of Photon."
Monica Rambeau, yeah.
And we saw some, the effects of people return, not the comedy effects of people returning with
Far From Home.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
But we saw real impacts and people turning up in the wrong place at the wrong time. What if this town, Westview, which has no children, what if a school bus driver, snap, gone. Kids in Westview, gone. Wanda's told about all these horrible things that some of her actions have resulted in. She has taken it upon herself to go to Westview. She is influencing the people there to make their lives better, to make her life better. But those people are still influencing her a bit as well. So consciously, she is trying to make up for her mistakes and the mistakes of her fellow Avengers. But their feelings and needs are seeping into her. So it's not a big bad like Mephisto, but someone like Agatha's like, wait a minute, you can bring our kids back? You can bring our loved ones back? This sort of thing is where the reality world-bending thing goes. And I think that would be a lot more interesting conceit and make it more human than a big bad, I'm the devil in a cape. Now, hopefully,
I tell you what, that's actually spoken like a true comic book writer. Like that is a creative, interesting theory that pulls on stuff that's already established, which is what's so important with storytelling. You got to establish stuff, and I I will certainly put my hand up for being someone who does not want to see Mephisto come in this way, shape, and form. I don't hate the concept of the character, but keep him with Doctor Strange, keep him with Thor, keep him away from Earth and normal human beings, because it's not my cup of tea, and I don't want that in my Marvel show.
There's another thing I'd love to see is, obviously we're going to see Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp 3. And Stature, Ant-Man's son, Cassie Lang, she's going to be a bit more grown up, and it sounds like she's going to be doing a Young Avengers thing. And young Kang, Iron Lad, we don't know. You make the assumption. You know, they're bringing in all the other
60 years of history to play with. It's limitless what they can do, and the fact that we have the X-Men's Quicksilver here now means that nothing is off the table. Like, the very notion that they would take, you know, Fox's Quicksilver and put him in the MCU, like, that's the ultimate sort of like ridiculous fan theory that you would imagine a kid saying and being like, okay, that's nice, sit down. They won't do that.
One thing, and it's definitely the X-Men universe Quicksilver. And the reason I know that is our pal Eamon Fagan from Belfast. He sent me a little video which has the audio impaired talk over, and it says it's the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. That's what it says. So it's definitely him. So there's no mistake. And what this leads us to, we've got Madness of the Multiverse coming up. We've got the Spider-Verse coming up. They've finished filming Spider-Verse. Well, whatever they're going to call it. We'll call it Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
It'll be Home something. Far From Home. Home Alone.
Yeah. So some home derivative. Yeah.
Spider-Man mini homes. So that's happening, and then Doctor Strange. I think the timeline of the Spider-Man movie and the Doctor Strange movie could actually be in parallels. So you could have Strange ducking in and out of movies, sorting stuff out.
Could you imagine how cool that would be? Actually, yeah. If you literally have two movies that take place at the same time, and
by two different companies as well. So you've got, you know, your Sony can have their cake and eat it too, and not muck up too much. And then that's how you get Tom Hardy and Morbius and our mate Tom Holland. That's how you get him into that Venom and all that. So yeah, they're playing the cards that they've been dealt. DC have fell way behind with this sort of thing. But what I'd love to see is, after that, you got Kang coming in. Kang should be the next Thanos, I believe. We're going to get the Young Avengers. They're coming in some form. That will probably be the next Avengers film, whenever that turns up. But what I'd like to see is maybe an MCU Disney Plus overarching villain, and then an MCU big screen overarching.
Well, that seems to be just the way that the media is going at the moment, is that TV and home streaming is going to be on the same level as cinematic movies. You know, the cinema does seem to be losing ground to just people watching things at home. And you can't look at Wandavision and say, oh, this is a lesser product to any cinematic movie. And I think it's only the budget, what you see on screen, is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because also there's money to be had there. I would go to the cinema like once every couple of months, whereas I will pay a Disney Plus subscription every month, guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, it's the quality of our content and the quality of our televisions. I mean, I remember my first full-time job after I graduated uni, I went out and put a big screen TV and surround sound system on hire purchase, and it was only 22 inches, and it was a big bulb tub, massive thing. It cost a fortune.
CRT thing.
I know, and it was like, but you know, DVDs were around. I'm not that old, kids, but it was a clear picture. But now you get cinema quality at home with your Sonoses and you know, everything like that. You don't need to go to the cinema, and obviously technology's evolved so far. I mean, I'm confident within the next 10 years, I'll be able to make an animated film of my comic book by myself based on the technology that's coming. You know, you can already animate pictures and make them three-dimensional and all sorts of stuff. It's not going to take long till you can do a lot of that stuff by yourself.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see that full integration, the movies and the TV easily.
Wow, totally. And you look at is it the void, the volume. This is the thing that they use to make The Mandalorian, which is basically a whole digital big screen where they just have a couple of props in there and they can just change. And instead of green screen, everything's already up.
Yeah.
And all these huge, massive sets are tiny. And it's not months and months of mucking around, getting the pictures and the angles right. Everything's there to go. The camera moves, the projection moves with it. The artists, the actors can work within that environment and play with it and live and breathe off it. It's, the technology is just running away so quickly. And the budgets, you look at The Mandalorian, it actually didn't have a massive, massive budget, but it feels fully integrated into the Star Wars universe.
I mean, that's it. Again, I know nothing about nothing when it comes to computer special effects and movie making and whatnot, but I can sort of see with the way you explain it, how, once you've got those initial renders in special effects and you've got the basic sort of, dome that you were talking about, that's why I guess that they're cranking out so many new Star Wars properties now for TV, because they've got the tools there. They've got the toolbox. So it's like, it doesn't take a massive investment to do a new TV show. Everything's already there. You just got to have the actors acted out, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really clever too is you look at eventually you can see someone signing away their likeness forever to Marvel, and they will be, I'm not sure how I really feel about that, but there'll be something like that will happen and say, hey, look, Robert Downey Jr. say, I'll be hologram Tony Stark forever. No problem.
Yeah. I can absolutely see that. And it's like you say, I don't know how I feel about that. There are some things that are great. Like I would love to see young Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator forever, but it'd be less sad than seeing the new ones. But it's also like, I love the idea. Like I have no problem, like zero problem with recasting anyone. I think because, again, like growing up with comic books, every time you buy a comic book with a different artist, that's a different interpretation of the character.
Absolutely.
I would have loved it, as long as the character is called Luke Skywalker and they act like Luke Skywalker, that's fine. Does he look slightly different? Yeah, I know who the character is, and I'm watching the character. I'm not watching the actor. If you're watching Mark Hamill on screen, then they're not doing a good job.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
I think I think everyone's kind of pushing for our mate Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, is almost a spitting image of Hamill at that age, and he's a decent actor. And I mean, I'm kind of almost sad that the Mandalorian reveal was actually Hamill and not Stan, because I would have popped.
I would have popped if it was Stan. Yeah, that would have been a bigger reveal for me.
Yeah, it would have been really well. But again, look, no complaints from me. That was a great moment, and it's amazing what they can do now with all that sort of stuff. How far did they push it with the ownership of likenesses and stuff? I don't know. It's a hard one. It's like the Red Skull was Ross. Can't remember his name. Guy off Walking Dead. His name's Ross, and real name's Ross. I can't remember his last name. He played the Red Skull and did a pitch perfect impression.
Yeah, of Hugo Weaving. You wouldn't have known really unless you were looking for it.
Yeah. Well, originally, oh God, Hugo Weaving. He said, "I'm never wearing makeup like that again." That's why it's not him. He's like, nah, stuff that. I mean, he's old enough and rich enough to go, you know what? I'll stick on the Alpheas again, maybe a couple of times, but the rest of it, I'm good.
I tell you what, Mark, we could go on and on forever, but I think there's a limit on how much time I can record on Zoom. So we might be over that already. So I'm going to have to wrap it up there. One final little point I wanted to say about Wandavision. I saw someone pointed out to me when Wanda rolled the credits in the argument with Vision, they were the real people who make the show. Like, how meta. I love how it's wheels within wheels. Like, wait a minute, so our universe is now part of their multiverse. Like, it's so good.
And I'm kind of in on them saying that the couple in the ads could be Wanda's parents. That's still permeating. It's possible. And the ad this week was for Lagos, clean up your messes. And Lagos was when in Civil War she blew up the
Which is
building.
funny because I needed that pointed out to me, because the rest of that episode after that, I was sat there going, Lagos, what is that an anagram of? It must be Glassol, Sagnol. And I was like, oh, damn it, it was the place where she killed all the people by mistake.
And on another meta level, apparently every ad has been reflective of an Infinity Stone as well. So that red ruddy blood was the ether, apparently. So who knows? Are we overlooking? Are we over analyzing? Of course we are. We love it. That's what we.
That's why we keep coming back every week. Mark, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend. Guys, go and check out the Kickstarter. I'm gonna literally go and do that now because I'm sold. I can't wait to see this. Mark, thank you so much for being on the show, my friend.
Thank you, David. Happy to come along and annoy you with more facts and useless information whenever you want.
I'll take you up on that. And until next time, folks, keep displaying model behavior.
Choose.